The Business Owner's Journey. I'm Nick Berry, and I've got real business owners telling their real stories, sharing their real lessons and strategies, so you don't have to figure it all out on your own. And we're wrapping up season 1 of The Business Owner's Journey with this special mini-series, the 12 Days of Business. Over 12 days, we've got 12 episodes with 12 of my previous guests, and today's guest is Anthony Milia, the founder of Milia Marketing Agency. He's an author and a keynote speaker. So Anthony's first episode was primarily about him building his marketing agency and their focus on being like a data-driven marketing experts. But there were a few other points that came up and got my attention in that discussion. And what jumped out at me is it was telling a really clear and to me really interesting story about Anthony's growth as a leader and these inflection points along his path. So as part of this episode, what I wanted to do was bring those points back up and kind of put the spotlight on that. And I think there's just so much to be learned from how he describes those events and how he leveraged each of them. He talks about John DeJulius, also a guest of ours, but actually I was introduced to John through Anthony. But John, Anthony met John early on, and that kind of planted the seed for him becoming a speaker and an author eventually. Anthony also joined the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses group. And as a part of that, first of all, that's how I got connected with Anthony, is my wife was in that program with him. That program is what influenced him to niche down his agency, which is kind of where it started to take off. He finishes with the small 10,000 Small Businesses program, and then he joins Entrepreneurs Organization and gets involved in that like tighter community of peers. Then he starts building his own personal brand, writes his book, Marketing Magnifier, and is preparing himself to become a keynote speaker. And I want to mention Marketing Magnifier. This is a very, very, very good marketing book. If you are especially a small business owner who has your hand in marketing, creator, this is a fantastic book for you to help get your head around kind of straddling between strategies and tactics. It's bigger picture while staying actionable. Then as his timeline continues, he hires a business coach and starts using EOS. When you hear Anthony talk about these things, he is very clear in describing the effect that each of them had on him and how you can see how it compounds over time. But there is also not an accident why this story, these inflection points jump out to me, because in that timeline right there, and this I think happened with him in maybe like a 6-year period, he's captured all 6 of the principles that I use in my own businesses and with the others that I work with as an advisor. I've said this on this podcast, these things, it's in my content. But these are the guidelines that I use. Everybody needs a one-on-one coach. You need to be a part of a bigger community. You also need to be a part of a smaller peer advisory board. Those are your 3 pillars of support. Then you've got to have a leadership development plan. You've got to have a strategic plan for the business, and you've got to have an operating system. And he nailed all 6 of those things in just a few short years. So it's not an accident why he is where he is. But listen to him talk about it, because these things didn't happen to him. He created these opportunities. He went into these opportunities with the intention of figuring out how to level himself up. He would then come out of the opportunities and just compound. He would put something into action and then build on it. Like each one of these, you'll hear the residual effect as he tells the story. Now then, if you get value, then all I ask is make sure that you're following or subscribed so that you get the entire 12 Days of Business series. If you want, I'll send them to you through email. You can get all of the episode pages. You can get the exclusive guest profiles. You can get the additional resources that we're sending out, but those are only going out through email. So to get them, you just need to go to nickberry.info/12 days. That's the number 12 days. And make sure that you're subscribed so you can listen to them on your favorite platforms. All right, now enjoy the show.
Yeah. So we did start in September of 2016, but I'm going to fast forward around that 2017, 2018 mark when 2 things happened. Number one is that we started working with that fabricator based in Cleveland, which was a big milestone for us because it ended up being one of our first larger clients at the time. And then the second piece is working with John DeJulius, who you just recently interviewed, and his team over at the DeJulius Group. And more on that is just John has been John and his team both have been an incredible resource and just mentor to me, especially growing a professional services company and figuring out as I go of just growing our portfolio, and especially most importantly is delivering a great partner experience to the people that we serve, and who I learned it from the best, right? Is from working with their team and doing the marketing for them and being able to consume that content and implement it. It's been such a great mentorship for me, and just personally and professionally, I've grown so much.
How much have they affected the standards? Like, have they had to come to you at any point when you were working with them and be like, Anthony, that's not good enough, man. Not for us.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been moments of that. But it's raised my standard for sure on what I look for, not only in like working with other vendors, because I want a world-class customer experience from the people that we work with as an agency, but I want to be able to turn that around and being able to provide that on the end partner as well, of what their perception of our value is or what their customer experience is. We want to make sure they're having the best experience, but they can't find it anywhere else. So that has been something that I am now I'm very nitpicky on what are those minor things, those minor moments that can really make an impact in every single interaction that we might have with a potential partner, and how can we just improve that by maybe just by 1%?
Mm-hmm.
What is that switch?
Yeah.
What can we do?
I think once you become aware of those things, if it's not just minutia or tedious, right? Those are the layups. Those are the things that they're not that hard to do. You've just got to recognize them.
You definitely have to, that's definitely the first step. And now we're very obsessed with it, which I love, because it's something that we're looking for all the time. And we're always adjusting our scripts, our templates, our processes, so we can continue to improve that whole experience.
Yeah. You really did learn from the best. And I appreciate you getting me in touch with him. He was a pleasure to work with.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that also was one of the inspirations for, motivating me to write the book, but also now I'm speaking, right? And have really good slide decks. I'm being able to speak in Vegas and Miami and all across the United States on the topic of marketing, and learning from John and how he's conducted his keynote presentations has really helped me position myself and just get started. Yeah. So those were two of the big moments back in 2017 and 2018. Around 2020 is when we joined the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, went through that for a little bit. And that's how we originally connected. Right. And
Kelly was in there with you.
Yeah. And we were part of the same business group. That's a US wide business group, teaching kind of the fundamentals. And that is also where my growth opportunity was niching down. So that was the very, very start of us repositioning ourselves to only focus on the stone, kitchen, and bath industry. And I'll fast forward to one more point is last year, about 14 months ago, is when we started to run on EOS. And that has probably been the biggest and best shift that we've made in the last 14 months, is hiring a business coach that helps us implement EOS within our agency. We've never had as much clarity, accountability, and focus across the board. And I can't remember how I used to run the firm before that.
I get it. EOS has that place with us also for that same reason. I noticed that you used the phrase delegate and elevate somewhere, and I was like, I know what you're doing.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. And it's across the board with every team member too, is what does every team member on our team, what do they just strongly dislike doing? That's part of their role. And how can we move that to either someone else or to someone that enjoys doing that line of work?
Mm-hmm.
Because we really want every responsibility to be something that every team member they love to do it and they're great at it. That's where we want every team member to be, in like that upper left quadrant of that worksheet, right? And like ever since implementing just like a minor exercise like that, like you have happier employees.
It gives you a method to apply to things that you feel you don't realize you're experiencing like all day long, and everybody on your team is probably experiencing all day long.
Gives a sense of direction for the entire team, the goals for each department, for the company as a whole. Everyone knows where we're heading. You're reporting on a weekly basis. You're able to IDS, like what are your issues that are popping up on a weekly basis, and that's being very proactive in resolving those, so it doesn't amount to something else like in 6 months. If you weren't doing that, then you might catch yourself in a massive like urgency, right? You just because but since you're having EOS in place and you're able to IDS those moments, like you're ahead of it.
Right. I hear you said IDS and delegate and elevate. The common language, I think, is another thing that it does for you internally. It lets your team knows what IDS means, and they know how to IDS. It's this set of heuristics and tools that empower people on your team to do things, apply themselves more efficiently and collectively.
Yeah, it's been a great resource. One of the best investments we made for just over the last 14 months, and moving forward, we're going to continue to run on it.
We got into it in 2014. Like it was so long ago. Gino was the person who ran our workshop and sold us into it.
That's insane.
Yeah. There were like 4 implementers on their website at the time. And this comes up in more than half of my podcast interviews. We end up talking about EOS. And something that came up recently that I've started to talk more about is, do you notice when any of your clients already use EOS?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can tell, can't you?
Oh, I can absolutely tell when we're working with a partner. It's actually one of the questions I ask in my discovery calls is like, are like, how are you guys? Are you guys running on EOS? Because if I know that, then I know it's like a very operationally strong, structurally sound organization.
Yeah.
Where we're going to move fast or more efficiently with that partner because they have their ducks in a row, most likely, most of the time, right?
You can plug right in, what, for the most part, what you're walking into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that, you're running on you've known about EOS since 2014. You've been running on it. Maybe being an implementer and integrator yourself, a fractional consulting group for you.
Yeah. So the clients that I'm consulting with now, we use it.
I mean, yeah, I think you and Kelly would be great at that. And just from the 10 years of experience from you running a business and owning it and then using EOS, there's a lot of experience sharing from you guys for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I know that system. So, with Fitness Revolution, we built the alignment system, which there's 50% of that is EOS. It's the same thing. And like, that's the case with a lot of these systems, but EOS is just the simplest, easiest, broadest application. Like if you have some aptitude and can think on top of that framework, like you're gold. You should be just fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
So you mentioned the book, Marketing Magnifier is the book. And I got it whenever it came out, but I'm rereading again because we're having this conversation. And it was just another reminder of, I've always enjoyed our conversations because of the insight. And the book has insight. It's not just like a stock marketing, here are the fundamentals you need to know.
It's always something I wanted to do. And I appreciate you rereading it again. Just to be able to share that knowledge and the experiences, the interviews and examples, which really allows people to implement those ideas right back into their business is what I hope for. And I feel people do. And the other piece is it's just very heartwarming, from the side of things that people read it and then they put it into action. So when I hear that, it makes me feel happy, to know that, not only is it's on your bookshelf, it's being read and being implemented, and I get to hear that feedback too. It's such an awesome feeling, and crossing that off the list of being able to write the book was definitely, it was for sure a challenge. And just the whole journey and the experience of writing it from start to finish. You're interviewing all the, different people, you're reflecting back on different experiences and memories and consuming content from different industries, and how can you put that into a story, like a story, so people can read that and then get value from it as well. And at the same time of going through those motions, like I'm consuming the content, right? So it's only sharpening me, getting that marketing knowledge and positioning me as a subject matter expert, which is one of the main goals. So number one, obviously, wanted to provide value. Number two is being able to write that now maybe, I hope a little bit smarter in the world of marketing, and has helped me create a reputation as a subject matter expert, and then leading to speaking engagements across the United States, which is awesome.
So you mentioned John, his influence on you with your speaking and presentations. Did you hire a speaking coach?
I did.
Yeah.
I did hire a speaking coach. And it was actually someone that I just found on Upwork originally, because I didn't really know where to turn to for like a more official speaking coach that can dedicate more of the etiquette towards that, and just keeping me a little bit more accountable on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. So I was working with her for several months, especially for my first go around at my first larger presentation, and that had really helped me build up that confidence and just hold me accountable. So showing up to those meetings and then rehearsing it just like I am here, and then her providing feedback on what I can do to improve. Like, am I moving too much? Am I fidgety? Am I saying am I humming my ums? Those are all things to pay attention to, right? So the more that you practice, the more that you can, refine it. I highly recommend a speaking coach, especially just to get you going. I mean,
yeah, and it's trial and error unless you have somebody. Why not get somebody to tell you, here's the way? Just like with EOS. I mean, you could read the book, you could try to do that, and it's possible, but man, it's so much easier if you just have somebody who's done it to say, like, here's the way.
Well, to that point, there's people around you that will help you, that are better than you at it, and that are going to help coach you to get you to that point. So even for the person that designed my slide deck, I'm not the strongest at. I could build a Google slide deck, PowerPoint, Canva presentation, right? But I can't do it in a way where it has that creativity. It builds upon the slides. They have more of the eye for detail, right? And it builds throughout the journey and the story. So I had someone else work on the slide deck for me, and it was a great experience, because what sucks when you're attending a keynote presentation or a session like that is that you're sitting on these sessions, and these speakers have like just walls of text on their slides, and they're just either reading from them or they're saying something over here, and then their slide deck says something different. And I'm trying to create just a better speaking experience, right?
What about your presentation itself? Do you have somebody help you with that, or did you already have that?
The speaking coach kind of helped me navigate that a little bit, but really the content behind it was driven primarily from the book. So it was already something I had experience on. And I've been able to use that type of presentation in several speaking engagements. And now I'm working on my next topic that I'm, going back to the drawing board of getting that designer, rehearsing the content, repositioning the slides where they need to go, and just building out that story so it's actionable. People learn from it, and it's not a sales pitch.
Before I move too far from inflection points, we talked a lot about EOS, the Goldman Sachs, the 10,000 small businesses. Is that something you would recommend for anybody getting into business, or like a certain type of person?
I think the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program does a great job on teaching the fundamentals through their modules. Now, back in October 2020, we did the whole cohort virtually, so I had a little bit of a different experience because I attended the program over Zoom, which made it a little challenging at times, but I still gained a ton of value from my coaches, my team, and all that. But I would recommend it for people that are looking to kind of get that foundational business knowledge, and it allows you the opportunity to work on your business throughout that, I think, 8 or 12 week timeline. I forget what it is. And you're going through like your finances, your marketing plan, sales plan, your accountability chart, your organization, and really just trying to take you to the next level. So I think the result of it is you creating a growth opportunity. What is going to be that major driver in getting you to the next phase of your business? It's not something like, I'm going to build a website. It's like a very major milestone that, like, the next phase of your business that's going to take you to the next level. So in summary, I would say I do recommend it. The next step after that, like once you graduate from the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, would be considering something like EO, so Entrepreneurs Organization. It does surround yourself with people that are most likely running an EOS or scaling up, and that a lot of the time it's a great transition from people that are graduating from the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. They find EO because they just want more of what they did from the 10,000 Small Business Program. And you're surrounding yourself with other people that are other entrepreneurs, business owners that are going through the emotional roller coaster, the peaks and valleys of trying to grow their business, the ups and downs of revenue, the people leaving your company, people issues, client issues, whatever it is. And you have someone else to talk to, where you get very vulnerable with that group of people. You're getting into the 1% to 5% of those experience shares. And you can't do that anywhere else. You can't turn to your neighbor, or some people can't turn to their significant other, share that out loud, right? Because they just don't get it.
This is another thing that comes up just about every conversation. You get into business ownership, and there are just not that many people who can relate. Even if they want to, no matter how bad they want to, they can't relate to the things that are going to keep you up at night. And the more success you have, that number becomes fewer and fewer. And it's nobody's fault. Like, that's just it. There are things in their lives that we can't relate to either. But
exactly,
you need to find people who can. And like those peer groups, I think I'm glad you mentioned EO. I was a 10-year Vistage member. It's up there with EOS on my inflection points. One of the most valuable things I've ever done for that reason. You're in there with other people who are looking for the same things that you're looking for. They think kind of like you. They're a lot of people are either solving or have solved a lot of those issues, the challenges that you're facing. It's access to speed when it comes to solving problems.
Access to speed, your circle of influence, and just surrounding yourself with other people just like you, going through the same challenges, but it could be a completely different business. Having someone to talk to, just maybe not even solving your problem, just being able to vocalize it is probably the more valuable element to it. Is just being able to talk out loud. Someone is able to hear you and understand it, acknowledge it, and resonate with it has been an incredible resource.
Yeah. That reminds me, like, one of my first memories from being in Vistage, a guy who's like still a mentor to me. I don't remember what we were talking about, but I was kind of stressed out. Like, that you have these blind spots and it, but you don't really know how to go about looking for them. And he just said something along the lines of like, you don't know what you don't know. Like, that's all right. That's why you're here. And I was like, oh yeah. Huh. It's just feels so much better for it to have been acknowledged, and him being like, that's why you're here. Like, there's nothing you can do about it other than that. It's like the weight was lifted.
Oh yeah.
Are you still in EO?
Yeah, we are. In about 3 years since we joined. But it's been probably one of the best investments we made. It's just being part of that type of community.
Thank you so much for listening. If you found the show valuable, you can say thanks and show your support simply by taking a quick second to like, share, and comment on the show. You can also find more information about each of my guests, all of the resources from the show, and myself at nickberry.info/TBOJ.